This is a quick walkthrough of problem 3-12. You need to build an Excel worksheet to solve this problem. The gray fields here are input data fields. All of the yellow cells on this worksheet you need to enter in Excel formulas that include cell references or some sort of an Excel formula that links one way, shape, or form to the input fields. So later on when I grade this worksheet, I'll be able to change the input fields and your outputs or answers will change accordingly. All right, first thing we need to do is we need to calculate activity rates. We're going to take our estimated cost divided by estimated activity levels. We need to get the total activity levels. So that's simply going to be our E12 plus D12, and once I've entered in that formula, I can copy it on down. The mono relay, in terms of units, that's going to link to cell C3 up above. That was my input field. The bi relay is in D3. I need to calculate my direct labor hours per unit, and that's up in row 4 here. Direct labor hours for the mono is 0.75. Direct labor for the bi relay is 1 hour. And then I'm going to calculate the total direct labor hours for each one of these. 75 times 40,000, and I can copy that on down. And so I plan to work a total of 40,000 direct labor hours. My predetermined overhead rate then is simply going to be my total estimated cost of 1 million divided by my estimated activity level for $25. So then my manufacturing overhead rate, I'm going to link it to the predetermined overhead rate I just calculated. I need to pick up my direct labor hours per unit. For the mono, I plan to spend 0.75 hours. For the bi relay, I plan to spend 1 hour. So then I'm going to pick up my cost. Remember, direct material, direct labor, manufacturing overhead. For the mono, my direct material cost was $35. My direct labor cost was $9. And I can calculate my overhead that I'm going to apply will be 0.75 hours times $25 per direct labor hour. And I have a total cost of $62.75 for my bi relay. I can copy those right on over. My overhead will simply be my 1 direct labor hour times $25, add them up. I've got an $85 cost. So this is going to be my cost for the mono and bi relays using my direct labor hours to apply overhead. Part 2, I want to use an activity-based costing method to apply overhead. I need to first pick up my estimated costs. Those were given right here. There's the 180. And I'm going to just copy that on down. My activity levels, expected activity levels, those are my totals I calculated right over here. I can copy those on down. Now I need to calculate a rate, which is simply my estimated cost divided by my estimated activity level. And I've got activity rates for my managing inventory, for processing purchase orders, for quality control, and for machine-related costs. Next thing I need to do is I need to apply my overhead. I'll pick up my predetermined overhead rates. Again, I need a link, and I can just copy that on down. My expected activity levels, those were given right up here for the mono relay as 75, and since those are right below each other, I can copy them down. The amount of overhead that I'm going to apply will be my expected activity level times my predetermined overhead rate, and I can copy that right on down. The total overhead then will simply be equals, sum those up. The total overhead applied to the mono relay, $432,000. My total number of units for the mono relay, 40,000. So the amount of overhead per unit will be the 432 divided by 40,000, 1080 per unit. And I can always go back in and put back in some of my formatting to pretty it up a bit. All right, for my buy relay, my expected activity, again, that was given. I expect to spend 150 different part types for the buy relay, 200 different purchase orders, 3,250 tests, and 6,000 machine hours. So I'm just going to link to my items above, copy them down, activity level times predetermined overhead rate or activity rate. I can copy that down, and down here again I need to sum those up. I want to have some formatting. Let's commas, no zeros. Number of units. That was right up top again. There's the 10,000. Cost per unit divided by 10. Finally, I need to pick up the total cost of each. My direct materials, direct labor, and the overhead that I've just calculated. There's my overhead. There's my overhead per unit. My direct materials were right up top. My direct labor was right below that. And I can sum those up. I'm going to copy that formula over. And these links, I can even copy those over. And I've got my cost under my activity-based costing system. Just a quick observation. Notice my cost per unit went from $62 for the mono down to $54, while the cost of the relay went up. It was $85 and it went to $116. Again, as the lecture notes in the book talks about, typically when we shift to an activity-based costing system, we will tend to shift costs from our low volume product, which in this case was our buy relay, only 10,000 units, to our high volume product. And sure enough, we did. We ended up increasing. We shifted costs from the high volume to the low volume. High volume was 62, activity it's at 54, and just the opposite with our buy relay. So that's a quick walkthrough on how to build your Excel model.